Yeah.
Let's call to order the November 25th Lititz Borough Council meeting. Mayor?
I'm looking, but I'm not seeing anyone from the Warwick Ministerium. Did I miss anyone? Okay, if not, could we have a brief moment of silence before we start? Amen. Could we stand to pledge the allegiance? Pledge allegiance. One nation.
All right, the first order of business we have, and I will say, Mary, can you hear us? Mary Gaddis should be online.
I am here. Thank you, Steve.
Okay. First thing, order of business is we have two sets of meeting minutes to approve. First is the October 28th official council meeting of October, then also the budget workshop that we had on November 12th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 25th, 2025 council meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make another motion to approve the November 12th, 2025 budget meeting for 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. All right. Moving on to agenda itself, the first item we have is the acceptance of council resignation. I believe most of the council members know, but to let the public know, Christine Sensenig has moved down to sunny Florida a little sooner than finishing out the last 2 months of her position. So we received that and accepted her resignation as of October 30th. So I don't believe there's any further discussion there, but we do need to vote. I have a motion and the vote on the official acceptance of her resignation.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Christine Sensenig's resignation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion accepted. All right, and we will roll that directly into resolution 1011, council appointment to fill Christine's seat for the final 2 months of the year. We have spoken with Mr. Brad Bergman, who was elected to fill Christine's seat in Ward 3. Brad is willing to step up 2 months prior to taking on his 4-year commitment. So we would like to go ahead and take resolution 1011, which is basically to have Brad fill Christine's seat.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 1011, having Brad Bergman effectively fill the council person's seat of Christine Sensenig.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. With that said, Brad, Mayor's going to officially.
Right here is fine.
Right here.
Yeah. Okay. Oil the oath. Okay. I state your name.
I, Brad Bergman,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge
and that I would discharge
the duties of Lititz Borough
the duties of Lititz Borough
Councilperson with fidelity.
Councilperson with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you
and
so
welcome
much.
Aboard.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, you want a handshake or?
Brad, now you get to sit up here and.
You want me in?
Yep. So hopefully you memorized all that because My understanding, you got to do that all over again in January.
Yeah.
Well situated, Brad?
Yes.
All right, moving on to resolution 10112, Tanea.
All right. So this resolution is ordinance number C 220. And we're basically basically asking for the following fees to be amended. The special permits fees, we're changing them from 120, it's going to be $125 for a Lititz-based nonprofit organization to fill out a special permit. And then for any other applicants, that fee then would be $1,000. Does anybody have questions about how we came to that conclusion or have any issues? Nope.
Could you just maybe highlight how we arrived at $1,000?
We did in a couple different meetings. Do you mind coming up and kind of giving a little heads up there, Chief?
Sure. What these application fees are associated with would be the special events that accompany the ordinance that's going to be considered later on this evening. So the application fee would be for the processing of the application and some of the pre-planning efforts that go into it. The $100, I'm sorry, the $125 versus the $1,000 is in recognition that the Lititz-based nonprofits, which are the current hosts of special events, although there's fees and costs associated with it, that the event itself reinvests back into the borough. So $125 is in recognition of the community investment those special events make, whereas the $1,000 would go into offsetting the cost of planning and processing these events if it were an outside of town entity that were to come into the borough to try to capitalize on the Lititz brand or the downtown atmosphere to host their event for their for-profit venture. So that's the distinction between the two different costs with special events.
Jared, I know it doesn't happen very often, but there's times when events are canceled. Would that fee be refunded to the organization if an event is canceled?
Sure. There are provisions in the ordinance as far as canceling a special event for cause or situations beyond anyone's control. I certainly think that could be a discretionary call based off the circumstances to refund that fee if it were exceptional circumstances that were unforeseen.
Wasn't it a year or two ago that rain came in and we had to cancel one of the
There's
events?
the craft show, I believe it was forecasted rain.
Anybody else? You all right with that? All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 1012 for a special events fee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. All right, moving on to item 3 on the agenda, ordinances, special events ordinance. Hey, you want to take that one?
Okay, so this is then following up with that. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 82 of the Borough Code and renaming it to parades and special events, and also clarifying and modernizing the borough's special events approval process, and to establish ways to recoup borough staffing costs for special events. So this is the one that we talked about last month, and then it was approved to be advertised. Does anybody have any questions about this? Want me to go through it again? We're good? A couple times. Anybody else? Questions? No? Okay. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number C 620 for the special events ordinance.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, Tanea, you're on a roll here. Ordinance 621, parking restrictions.
Okay. This is ordinance number 621. This is amending chapter 115 of the Vehicles and Traffic Code, where we are restricting parking on 6th Street near the intersection of South Broad and on both sides of the intersection. And then also restricting parking on the west side of Raspberry Lane, which is behind the Dunkin' Donuts and Turkey Hill, that whole street. So the guys can get back there and pave and leaf removal, snow removal, and not have problems getting, with people parking on both sides. So we did talk about that. One thing I did want to add, I was out there to look at this, and if we're going to restrict parking on the west side, which is going to be up against Dunkin' Donuts, right? That's the side, that side. There's a lot of trees that are behind the bank and the Dunkin' Donuts that are out pretty far into that lane of travel. So if we're going to, that's the road that all the big equipment's going to be going through. I think that we could maybe send some letters to those businesses to clean up their trees, leaves, so they're not out in that path, if that makes sense. It was pretty encroaching. I don't know how they're going to go through and not hit the side of their trucks.
We've got restrictions.
Okay, that was my only other issue with that. All right, anybody else have any questions about
We
that?
did send letters correctly. There was a conversation last month about sending letters to the residents about things.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
This
Yes,
one is-
do.
Note that, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you noted a couple of the areas. We also have 3 other specific parts.
You want to go through those?
I think just so everybody
Sure.
knows, just so the public knows all the
So this
areas
is-
we're talking.
Okay, so this is to prohibit parking on West Sixth Street on the south side from South Broad Street to South Spruce Street. This is also prohibiting parking on West Sixth Street on the north side, 200 feet west of the South Broad Street intersection. Also on East Sixth Street, the south side from South Broad Street to Keller Drive. And also on East Sixth Street, north side, 205 feet east of the South Broad Street intersection. And then in addition to Raspberry Lane, the west side, which would be from East Sixth Street to the Borough line. And
Ken was just asking me to bring a map up. I don't think you were in person. You had that.
Okay.
Okay. Any other, we also have the other part of that section, which is going to be, this isn't the new one about the mayor being allowed to,
If I'm not mistaken, that's for the parking fees so that it could be basically passed by resolution, because there was some discussion with the draft budget of changing parking fees. This would require then it could be updated by resolution rather than by ordinance, which would have you go through basically the advertisement process. So when you pass the budget, if council does decide to raise the parking fees, that change to the ordinance would allow you to pass it by resolution.
okay. Everybody clear on that?
Yep.
Okay. Mary, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. All right, I'm going to make a motion to approve ordinance number C 621, which is for the restrictions of 6th and Raspberry parking restrictions.
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved. Right. Then moving on to item 4 on the agenda, the county planning MOU. Elijah, you want to take this?
Yes, I can. So this is from county planning. As you may know, county planning reviews almost every subdivision and land development that comes forward in the county. They're asking for essentially municipal consent that they can go through an abbreviated review in the conditions that are in the agreement, which those are 4 different plans. They are pretty rare here, but it's specifically a subdivision land development plan that is basically a clerical or survey amendment. A subdivision plan proposing 4 or fewer lots in an area of effective ag, land conservation, or open space, which we don't have. land development plan with a total building area equal to or less than 1,500 square feet, which is not, again, something common that we have here, or a lot add-on or lot consolidation plan which creates no additional lots while complying with all lot dimensional requirements. Again, not typical, but that's something that we are looking to do with the land swap for the runabout line. This would essentially just allow things to go a little bit quicker. You don't have to wait for the planning commission to weigh in. For us, it is advisory, but it helps streamline the process for people filing plans. Any questions?
I'd be looking for a motion from someone.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the agreement 578 for a county planning MOU.
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved. All right, moving into the council members forum. And you want to take Infomark?
Yes, Steve, thank you. Doug is from Infomark. He's going to give us the monthly report.
Couple noteworthy events. We gave several tours in the last 2 months to some students from Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology, and also about 270 students from the 8th grade Ephrata Middle School class. Went very well. Anytime we can get a chance to give tours to the kids, we like to do that. Moving on to the new credit trading program. This year, we ended up selling 5,463 nitrogen credits and 878 phosphorus credits, totaling $18,558. We still have about 2,000 nitrogen credits available, but the deadline is Friday, and we haven't gotten any requests for it. The buyers this year were Keystone Protein, West Cacalico Township, Quail Creek Homeowners Association in Manheim, Mountjoy Borough Authority, and Kendu Incorporated bought credits again this year. Moving on to finance. So this month we were $16,057 over budget for the month and are currently $7,987 over year to date. Just to make the council aware, we are front loading some of the expenses from December so that everything that we purchase, the vendors get paid by the end of the year. So we're going to probably be over again next month, but by December, we should be well under budget for the year. We also have already purchased all of the chemicals that we need to complete the year. Any questions on that? Okay. Capital projects, no change from last month. We're still waiting for PP&L to move the power lines for the 2024 capital project of the Well 3 rehab. We did have a meeting with the parks and with PP&L a week or so ago. They did mark where they're going to put a new pole. There was some discussion on where it's going to go from the new pole, whether it's going to go to the existing pole or underground electrical wires in the park. And I believe the park was going to have a conversation with the authority on that. So that's where we stand. They didn't give us any dates as far as when they plan on moving the line at this point. Compliance. Both plants had all parameters in compliance. The water plant average daily flow was 2.6 million gallons a day, which is down from September 6%. Water plant's flow was 182 million gallons a day, which is down 3% from September. We had 4 after-hours call-outs at the wastewater plant. 3 were for a check valve issue that has been repaired, and 1 was for an aeration blower that needed to be reset, and there were none at the wastewater or at the water plant. So I do have 3 issues I want to make the board aware of. We had over the past couple months, we've had some high total dissolved solids results from our quarterly testing. We were able to figure out the problem that we were having is the nitrate units that remove the nitrate from the water go through a cleaning cycle. At the end of the cleaning cycle, there's a rinse cycle. What was happening is the rinse water was not getting completely out of the units because the drain line that goes underground to the tank had mineral buildup on it. And it was probably about 50% of what it should have been. So in the meantime, for now, what we did was we set up a temporary drain line that's going to run over the ground. Actually, it's already installed. That should mean that we can operate the plant normally. There's gonna be, I think we have we don't have a meeting scheduled on that, do we?
No, not for that one.
Okay. NTEC is going to look into doing some analysis of the actual mineral buildup, and then between NTEC and the Borough Authority, they're going to have to figure out a permanent solution for that. When we did hook up the drain line, we did find that the piping coming from the units to the drain line is also built up, so we're going to need to be replacing those too. Any questions on that? That's kind of a abstract description of what's going on.
Yeah, but that could be a very expensive repair and it's needed, right?
Correct. And talking to the engineers, I mean, they want to do the analysis and everything, but end game, it's going to look like we're going to need to put a new underground drain line in. But the temporary one that we have in place right now is temporary, but semi-permanent. I mean, it's something that we can use and operate the plant normally. It's just going to be a little more work when we have to bring trucks in, we have to move the line, things like that. But the temporary solution that we have in place, we can use that pretty much indefinitely. And, if it's a budget issue or, we're going to try and figure out what we need.
Thank you, Doug.
So the temporary solution mitigates any pollution
Yeah, well,
possibilities?
are you talking about for the quarterly test results or? We're hoping, we're going to be having another sample taken the beginning of next month. And that'll let us know if it's any better. I think we are still going to have some restriction because of the lines that go to the drain line are also, they're about a third, maybe reduced in diameter. So we're getting better flow there than we were out of the drain line. I mean, the drain line started out as like a 6-inch pipe and it was down to about 3 inches. The ones that are coming out of the units, I think are 8-inch pipes and probably down to about 6 inches. So there's still some pretty good flow coming out. It's all gravity though. So the more restriction there is there, the less they're going to drain. And we think that that's the reason why we're getting the high total dissolved solids is because we weren't getting a good rinse. So by next meeting, I'll be able to tell you what the results are for that. Any other questions on the drain line? In October, high service pump 2 failed. We have received a new motor and we should have that installed by next week. It does not affect the water production. It's a backup pump. And then yesterday we had well 4 fail at the water plant. So 2 of the 4 wells that are on site at the water plant are down right now. We have Cole Brothers coming out tomorrow. They're going to diagnose it and hopefully we don't have to replace that pump. But if we do, what I was thinking was probably using the capital project for well 6 for next year to replace well 4. Or, it'd be up to the board if they would want to use contingency funds if that's, what we need to do. But we won't know that until tomorrow. That's all I have, unless anybody has questions.
Any questions from council? Doug, is there any truth of a rumor I heard? I heard that Infomark has had so many tours this fall, they're thinking of renaming the wastewater treatment plant to the Water World theme park, giving season passes.
Well, yeah, we were doing 100 students a day with Ephrata Middle School, so it kind of felt that way.
I saw 800 at one group, right? Or
No, it was 300.
300, okay.
It was 100 students a day,
All right.
roughly.
Doesn't Africa
800
have their own water treatment plant?
Well, yeah, but I mean, maybe they don't give tours. I don't know. And I do know that our regional manager's daughter goes to that school, so that might be why too.
Any chance that you guys are going to add a tour guide, a microphone, and put it in your next budget?
Yeah, well, we're thinking of getting special uniforms.
Okay,
made up,
all right.
So,
Thank you, Doug.
sure.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the, let's see, it'd be the October water and wastewater report from Infomark.
Second,
The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Steve, we did not have a MS4 meeting, so no report, and we haven't met with the Lititz Borough Authority. That's going to be scheduled in January of 2026. So that's our report for tonight.
Tanea Streets and Traffic, like,
All right.
item here.
Yes, I've got a handicap parking space application request for 411 South Cedar Street by a Miss Susan Keelhorn. She does possess a valid handicap parking place card. And I'm assuming the parking space chief will be right out front of her house. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Nope. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the handicap parking space outside of 411 South Cedar Street.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
I wanted to bring something else to the council's attention. So UGI Utilities is initiating its first capital project in Lititz since we made our recent update to the street opening permit rules and regulations. So this project involves in replacing an aging gas infrastructure along Woodcrest Avenue. It also includes impacting South Broad Street, South Spruce, West 3rd Avenue, West 4th Avenue, General Sutter Avenue, and South Walnut Street. So they're going to be replacing aging infrastructure. So Rob, do you want to add anything to that at all? So then we're hoping this is going to go smooth and they follow all the rules.
That sums it up really nicely. Yes. Yep.
Follow, timing,
When is it?
which ones have been? David.
These are the roads.
The only one would be Woodcrest, and that's a state road.
Broad.
Yeah.
I think Woodcrest was done probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe actually it might have been 6. It might have been right before COVID.
I'll let you know on that one. That's all I have.
All right, if nothing else, we'll move on to finance, Ken.
Thank you, Steve. Folks, there's 2 items of business tonight. One is council just to look over your financial statement here for the month of November. You have your revenue. We still expect to realize the revenue for this year of 8.7 million. Under expenses, we're still trending to come in under budget. We've had some projects that have come in under budget and were successful, so that's nice. So we expect that trend to continue for the end of the year. Rob, did this recent street openings that Tanea is that in the budget now? So is that in the revenue that we're going to realize it? Are we going to realize it in November or December?
We'll realize it in November.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of the council? I'd like to make a motion to approve the financial report for November and pay all the invoices.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved.
Thank you, everybody. Now we're going to take a few minutes. On November 12th, we presented the 2026 Lititz Borough budget, and we had several takeaways of which everybody has been participating to get answers and clarity on some issues. So I'll go through each one of them and then allow time for questions for council. The first acknowledgement is that Rob has worked with the parking revenue estimates, and he's updated that to reflect in the 2025 estimated year end of 136,000. This is a result of eliminating the bag meters in December and the $2 hourly increase. Is that correct?
The 136 for this year does not include the $2 increase.
So it's just the bag removal for December.
Correct, and,
Okay.
and how we're trending with our current revenue.
Okay, thank you. The other addition that was made was for the 2026 revenue under parking, and that is if we do approve the $2 per hour parking rate and also no meters are bagged in December, that budget line would look like 272,000 for 2026. So that is now in the budget as a revenue increase. After the budget meeting, I was approached by Tyler and Tiff Toburn, and they suggested having council consider extending the parking requirements from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and wanted council's feedback on that. So I share that with you now. Currently, it's today it's from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's a 2-hour extension to the current period.
So if we extended it by 2 hours, there really won't be anybody watching.
There's no monitor during those last 2 hours.
So we're basically doing this for out-of-towners that don't realize. that nobody will be-
I'm not sure. Man, that's
Kind of feels like a
usually
little,
and around 5 or 6.
feels a little gouging.
Dinner
a little
crowd
too much.
coming.
Yeah, Ken, if I can chime in here, I think the standard in most cities that I visit in towns is to close the meters down at 6 o'clock. So I would suggest that we stick with the hours and just go with the parking meter increase should that pass.
You know what the rationale for the request was, Ken?
I think when we look at this particular project of parking, we've looked at it from every angle. We've looked at the rate and we've looked at the bagging, and now we're looking at the length of time. I think that's just where it came from. There's another angle to look at. It's a good idea, but I too agree that it might feel like we're just money grabbing there, and I don't like the feel of that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now, while we're on the sub,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, the other item after this was the recognizing that in 2025, we're recognizing an estimated revenue increase of $56,000 from UGI. And that was just, that's request was submitted week of November 23rd. So that's in the budget now for 2025 as a revenue increase. Okay. Now for 2026, we're recognizing an additional $900 in revenue from the special activity permits and would like to direct that to the General Capital Improvement Fund. Okay.
I'm okay.
Okay, Rob has recognized some additional expenses in worker compensation for the police department and has put that number in the 2025 estimated expenses for this year. At the same time, he's also recognized some additional $13,000 in worker compensation expense for the police department in the 2026 budget, and that is in tonight's general fund budget. Okay, the next item is I'm going to present, let me share what that is, give you some comments, and then we're going to leave time for discussion. In this budget for 2026, the SRO, the School Resource Officer, we've created a budget line that reflects a half-year expense of $75,000. This is in response to the Warwick School District requesting an SRO officer in January of 2025. We have also added a revenue line of the same amount for the SRO position. And the two numbers I'm speaking of is $75,123 is the expense and the revenue, so it's neutral. Again, this is in response to the Warwick School District's request for an SRO, and that was given to us in January. Let me be clear. This does not mean that the SRO position has been approved by the Lititz Borough Council. It does not mean that Lititz Borough Council will provide financial support for the Warwick School District SRO position. What this means is the borough continues to work with the Warwick School District, Warwick Township, and Elizabeth Township to develop a position description and negotiate a financial support plan in Q1 of 2026. So let me pause. We have some experts in the room, and we're also open to questions from the council as well as from the public.
So the $75,000 does not obligate the borough for this expense. Is that correct?
The 75,000 that's in the budget is a placeholder. It does not obligate the budget for this expense.
We'd have to approve the position before it would obligate the borough. So it's
If
just,
I could
it's putting
just-
it. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, if I can just speak to this for a few minutes. I've been working closely with staff and the school district to provide a response to their request, as Ken said, that came in last January. I think this is a good path forward for us. What it does is allows us to continue the negotiations around, as Ken said, the resolution of the funding question. The borough currently, just for the record, the borough currently provides police services for 5 of the 6 schools within the district because they are within the borough. We also get up to John Beck as needed and have students from John Beck come down to the police department for tours and so forth. So we are doing community policing and already in the schools doing a lot. And Jared, Chief Hahn is there and can speak to that a little bit more if necessary. But this is a position that will really help the school district. And I think with everything we do already for the school district, I hope that we can find resolution to the funding scenario and get them a school resource officer by July of 2026. So I appreciate your support for this.
So this topic, guys, again, just everybody, this is for the budget review. Topic of the SRO is going to be a much lengthier discussion, a different agenda item. This is just putting a placeholder so it gives, I'll really probably say the next council time to decide whether or not you do want to support that or not support this. Just putting the placeholder there for now. Because if you did decide to do it, you don't have the placeholder, you have to update the budget. So I would say there's a lot more discussion. I know there's been discussion for the last 10 months on this, a lot of other information to share with the public when the decision to bring that on the agenda. Right timing. So we're not approving SRO or no SRO. Just putting a placeholder in the budget so you don't have to go back and update.
It seems that if next year's council approves it, there would have to be a revenue source too.
Right.
So, and that hasn't been determined.
And of course, any personnel items would come to the personnel committee. You have to hire a new officer. So there's a number of steps
There's a lot
along
of
the
stuff.
line.
Yeah. Anything else, council? Anything, Jared? We covered it well? Okay. Okay, the next item that came up during the budget planning session back in November 12th was a library donation for the capital campaign. Mary Gaddis made a recommendation at that time, and let me just frame it up for everybody. Currently, the funding for the library is based on a per capita. So Lititz gives $6 per capita. Our per capita at the last census was 9,381 citizens. So what Mary suggested was an additional $1 per capita, which would be about $9,381 per year over a 3-year period. So the first $6 would still go to operations of the library. The additional $1 would go to the capital campaign, and that would total $28,143 over a 3-year term of the capital campaign. After 3 years, the per capita would be reduced, and then it would be council's decision what that would be at that time. That was a suggestion made at the budget meeting. It's open for discussion.
So if we agree to that, then we have in 3 years, then we can decide what we want to keep it at, whether we go back to $5 or $6. Okay. We're not stuck in that amount going forward.
I think the representative from the library has consistently said that they struggle with operational expenses. States keep on reducing their funding at that point, I believe. So Lititz and other municipalities are really helping with the running of the day-to-day operations. That's where the $56,000 we give each year helps. This is in addition to that. And we would decide then what that per capita would look like. But that's where they have funding decreases recently.
Hey, Steve, Carolyn from the library is online and asked to speak. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Carolyn.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for including Mary's request into this discussion and draft, and just again say how thankful we are for your consideration and your ongoing commitment to the library. Yes, I did also just want to acknowledge the cuts that we have been receiving, and again, just emphasize how important your support and partnership is as we continue to meet the community's needs. So thank you so much.
Carolyn, it's my understanding that the other municipalities have also made a decision to contribute to the capital campaign.
Yeah, so as was the case at the last meeting, I don't have the exact numbers. I know Elizabeth Township has been publishing their budget. I have not gotten confirmation of what their donation would be for the capital campaign. Warwick has their zoning meeting tonight. So we are expecting them to move forward with their recommendation for the land development plan. And then in the December meeting, we expect to both get approval, the final approval that we need, and then hear what their recommendation is as well for the capital campaign donation.
Thank you, Caroline. Any other questions? Okay, the next item that we wanted to discuss is some traffic calming measures for 6th Street. Approximately $130,000 are budgeted for traffic calming measures based off a recent traffic study. Tanea has met with Andy Gardner, our Public Works Superintendent, and Scott Haynes, our Borough Engineer, to address the best way to implement safety measures for residents and pedestrians moving through this area. Tanea?
Okay, so yes. So the committee is recommending, after we met with Public Works and the Borough Engineer, a couple different measures, and I can say them wonderfully, but Scott probably can give you an idea of exactly what I'm talking about, because I had to be schooled in type C crosswalks and all that fun stuff. So, but we're talking, a good suggestion would be to install a curb extension, which is like they call it a bulb out on the east side of Laurel Avenue intersection. So that's near the park entrance. The curb extension project it's further into the roadway, so that'll shorten the pedestrian crossing distance. It improves pedestrian visibility at the park, and it naturally slows vehicles' speeds by narrowing that travel lane. So if you put a bulb out there, then you need to add a type C, the piano key crosswalk across that. That's more visible. ADA compliant ramps on both sides, and you can also then add pedestrian crossing signs, which would be on both sides approaching that intersection or that crosswalk. So Scott has estimated that implementing those recommended traffic calming measures on 6th Street would require budgeting about $35,000 instead of the original $130,000 was what the total of all the recommendations. And we think the public works staff may be able to perform some of that work also to keep the costs low.
Let me make sure I understand. You said the bulb out on Laurel or on Locust?
It's the intersection of South Locust Street and East 6th Street intersection.
Did I say Laurel and I meant
I heard you
Locust?
say
Sorry.
Laurel, and I was thinking Laurel's a block
Yes,
north of 6th
you're right.
Street.
Yes. locus.
Tanea, were you thinking of one or two crosswalks?
We only came up with one at this point. We thought maybe that would start with one, see if that starts to make a difference with speed. Since it's more important, I think, from the complaints that we've received closer to the park. That was our thought, but again, this is just some recommendations. We can double that and put one down farther on 6th Street.
Well, again, as we said, the traffic study doesn't say you have to go all these.
Right,
It's
that's
like a
what
list of
thought it was listed.
recommendation.
So that if anything is to be done, that would be the recommended start on that road.
I think, Chief, you were saying you've got some benchmarking data. I don't need that now, but I think what you do is you guys will have that benchmark before it's done, maybe get it done right before you do the work next month, then do it 6 months later, see if it's changed recordings you're getting at all.
Okay, so in summary, we're talking about one crosswalk with piano key type white lines. And then we're talking about a sidewalk bump out to increase visibility, not only for the pedestrian, but also for cars coming. They'll see people easier.
Right,
And we're talking about 35,000
right.
or less.
Mhm,
Okay.
correct.
Any other discussion?
You want anything, Scott? That sound about right?
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thanks for your work, Tanea. Moving on, the comp plan and economic development plan, that budget line received a lot of attention for two components. Number one, Mary and Jerry and Kyle Stouffer from the Planning Commission, he's the Planning Commission board chair, all agreed that the $85,000 should be removed from the 2026 budget from the downtown plan. That'll be something that can be talked at future budgeting sessions. Okay, moving to the next component of the comp plan, Mary is requesting 20,000 remain in that line to cover some associated costs with implementation of the comp plan. So she has several ideas here. Mary, do you want to go through that or want me to list it out?
If you could do that, Ken, I would appreciate
Sure.
it. Thank you.
So Mary's detailed some activities that she'd like to lead, and some funding is necessary to do that. One of the ones that stands out is continue to hold community conversations to identify recommended actions for some of these plans that she has in the comp plan. She's talking about refining the Lititz Borough's reform-based code and demolition review process and engage with property owners along the Lititz Run to explore improvements to mitigate flooding and encourage redevelopment programs and policies. She's also hoping to focus on completing the planning, funding, and implementation of the Warwick to Ephrata Rail Trail from Oak Street to Lititz Springs Park in Lititz Borough, and then update the previously completed economic development analysis of the WERT. And then there's some other things along the floodplain mapping that she'd like to do. So she doesn't need a lot of funding, but some funding would help with some of those activities. She's listed 20,000.
Ken, can I just thank you for that summary? Yeah, what we did was we collectively looked at, and I appreciate Elijah's help with this. And what we looked at was the comprehensive plan that was adopted last year, Strengthening Community 2030, and some of the key action items that were in that there that relate to the downtown. And those were the things that we identified there as potential uses of funding to advance some of those things in preparation for more detailed planning work around the downtown. We do have a number of codes in place that will help guide development in the downtown in the interim, but we'll be consulting with the Regional Plan Implementation Committee on which of those activities needs to proceed first, and be working closely with our planning director, Elijah, on selecting what goes forward. So We do believe that 20,000 should be plenty to help move forward some of those actions, but I want to make it clear we are not saying that we will do all of those things in 2026. It's a menu that we will choose from and do what we can with the funds that we have. Is that Elijah? Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that covers it.
Thank you,
Thank
Mary.
you, Ken.
Thank you, Mary. Any other questions?
Mary, do you,
Yeah.
what did we budget for this last year? Was it 10,000?
It was 10,000, and I don't think we used very much of that at all. It's been a lot of just internal meetings and working with our partners to really get a game plan. And Ken mentioned the community conversations. Those will be focused. We just met recently with the two other townships and agreed to move forward with pulling together large employers in the area. And we expect that work to start sometime the beginning of the new year. So we will likely have expenses in this upcoming year for things like facilitation, meeting space, those kinds of things potentially. So I don't know. We can give a report next time on how much of the 10,000 we used this year, but I don't think we used very much at all. So we saved money this year.
Thank you.
So I was one who was really advocating for some funding to look at more of a strategic plan vision for where our community should go. I think this is a good starting place. I agree the 85,000 was too much. We didn't know what we want. I think this is an opportunity for us to step back and say, what do we want? Use this money to get some answers to our questions and then move forward. So I'm not going to leave the idea of a overall vision plan alone, but this is a good step toward getting there.
And I'll just, again, I was more of an advocate of doing it. And I'll just, from experience, share with you, if the intention is to eventually have a master plan, you're going to burn 3 months doing an RFP to get somebody. You're going to burn probably 6 to 12, even 18 months going through a process. So if you have a vision of having a master plan, I would say you should budget 12 to 18 months from when you say go to have something. So just have that in mind. It's not like you're going to suddenly have a master plan generated.
Understood.
That was kind of why I was advocating for it. It's going to take you a while to have a vision, let alone, I know the discussion last month, there were things that will change, that will implement the vision. But even once you start, things potentially fall in place in 2026. You've got a long haul because you talk about community meetings, if you go through a community master plan, there's a lot of discussion. And just getting a consultant up to speed and selecting.
Good discussion, guys. Okay, thank you, Mary. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Jerry. Okay, that brings us to the end of my checklist. The only thing I didn't mention is that under revenue for 2026, I've mentioned a few ideas, but the big buckets, earned income has not been updated by the Lancaster County Bureau of Taxation, so we don't have any new information. We do believe with high confidence that there's 3 tracts of land that will change ownership soon. One is publicly known. It's the Kenview facility was bought by Kimberly Clark, so that could be a revenue source. And there's 2 other properties that we believe could be sold. So those are unrealized. They're not in the budget, but they could be as we go forward next year. So with that, with the changes we've made, the total expenses for 2026 look like this. If you're on the last page of your packet there, $9,558,792. Now, our best estimates for year end are there as well. You can see that we've estimated a year end of a net balance of $3,362,986. So we've carried that over to give you what the budget will look like in 2026 and also give you a fund balance percentage. So if you carry that balance, take the net income that we're planning right now with what we know, and it could change. Net income would be $951,507. The net expenses of $9,558,792 would give us an end-of-year net balance of $2,465,702. That would give us a fund balance for 2026 budget of 28%. And remember that council's tries to maintain the general fund balance of 25% of budgeted expenditures, and we like to have a range between 20 and 35%. So we fall right in the middle with the 2026 budget. Now, council, you also see that the annual recap is negative. That means that during the net income and net expenses comparison, we're spending more money than what we take in with tax revenue and other revenue sources. Now, it has been the tradition of this community that we often budget the worst case scenarios for our expenses. We always plan for the worst, and typically it doesn't work out that way. We come in under budget. We have good bids. We have competitive bids that give us good services, but at less a dollar amount. So like this year, if you looked at, we had planned for a negative annual recap of $909,000. We're actually coming in close to $284,000, which is what we've seen in the last few years since I've been here. Now, 28% also represents a healthy financial position. It gives us stability to pay our bills and move forward with all the projects that we have with that healthy position of cash reserves. We also recognize that there's additional revenue sources that could come in play that we're not recognizing today. And therefore, I feel confident that we can have a successful 2026 with this budget plan. At this moment, the Finance Committee is not recommending any tax increase for 2026.
I think the other thing too, just to compare, if everyone is looking at that final page, there's no major variances in the income or the, I say no major, I mean, it's in a reasonable percentage up and down in both cases. And you can see they're very comparable the way we ended in 24, 25, and 26.
Any questions?
Just before you move, any questions?
Just one, so like we had budgeted the 130,000 for the 6th Street. So what page am I missing on? Where's that? Is that still in there for 130?
Page 15. If you look in the notes section, I have it all broken down there for you. It's reduced down to from 130 down to 40
Okay.
for the 6th Street.
Oh, I see 40. And if we reduce it even further, then. So tonight, we're not changing any of these and approving any of these.
Motion would be just to advertise the budget as amended. So
Okay.
that still gives us time to
We don't
zero
vote.
in.
Yeah, we don't vote
any-
until December on
Okay.
approving the actual budget. Right, just to make sure everybody's
Right.
fine with what's in here that's advertising.
Okay.
Does that complete our checklist? We good?
Yeah, yes, it does.
Okay. All right, I'd like to make a motion to advertise the 2026 Lititz Borough budget as amended.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve, there's just two quick announcements I'd like to bring to everybody's attention. That is Tuesday, December 9th, right?
Yes.
It's at Borough Hall right here. We're going to have a Q&A session for the budget. And also Chief Jared Hahn is going to join me and give a brief presentation on some of the changes he's making within the police budget to continue to keep an eye on expenses, but also continue to serve the community at a high level. So he'd like to take a few minutes to share some information at that time. And then Tuesday, December 23rd at 7 p.m., we'll have the next council meeting, and that'll be an opportunity for more discussion and to approve the 2026 budget.
Thank you. All right, if nothing else from finance, Ken, let's move on to Jerry first. If it's about this specifically, yeah, come on up, David.
Hi, Dave Carson, 220 East Sixth Street. I just have a question, really going back to 2025. So originally you were saying there's going to be a deficit of expenses over revenue of 909, 531.
Yes, sir.
So now are we saying a deficit of minus 284?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what are you saying is going to be the ending fund balance as of December 31st, 2025?
David is asking a great question. And I didn't say that earlier, so thank you, David. The fund balance for 2025, because of the increased revenue and reduced expenses, is going to end right at 36%. That's our estimated right now.
What's the dollar amount going to be? You said $3.4 million?
It's $3,362,986.
I don't get the math, but we can obviously I don't have the numbers. But my primary question is, so the difference between the initial budget last year saying the deficit was going to be 909, and you're saying now it's going to be a negative 284, that's like 625,000 and change reduction. That's a huge difference. Is that because of projects that are pushed into 2026 or just over expense, budgets that were 2025, things that were cost savings? That's a lot of cost savings.
Guys, that's a great question that Dave asked. Thanks for the opportunity to explain. There's two mechanisms working here. You can see that you don't have that in front of you.
Right.
But David, there's about a $200,000 difference in revenue increases that came in that helped the borough.
Right.
And then we had several large projects that just came in under budget.
Okay.
For instance, the Front Street project, Mary and I were on that project. We had the opportunity to look at it using a contractor to do some of that work or using our public works. And we chose to go with public works, which saved a significant amount of money.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Okay. So there's nothing pushed into next year that's kind of contributing to the deficit for 2026.
No.
It stands on its own.
It stands on its own, and there's nothing that we didn't do this year. We had some project delays, but it hasn't stopped us from completing anything.
Okay. But obviously you're going off the board, but we're still looking at a $707,000 deficit, which is concerning, as you said.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up. Again, it's a great opportunity to discuss that because of the past history here. We typically budget for worst case scenario. So we're always looking for the most expensive to make sure we cover the projects. And we've had the experience of coming in way under, and that's been over a number of years. Plus we sit in a tremendous reserve position of 27% reserve. So we're in a good position.
My concern would be going forward that we don't have a situation like you had in 2023, where there's a huge 62.5% real estate tax increase. There's just going to be an increase, maybe incrementally small, instead of just a huge drop on everybody at that time.
This is great discussion. It is something council should always keep their eye on, right? But I think we have enough information with the current situation of extra revenue sources that are coming in and the confidence that we have already. I can tell you that some of these plans for next year are going to come in under budget.
Okay.
So I feel like we're in a good spot.
Right. Okay. When do you think this might be posted, with the changes? I'm not holding you, obviously. We're talking almost Thanksgiving, so I assume next week sometime. Is that what you're hoping?
I could probably get it up on the website tomorrow.
Okay, that quickly?
And I'll definitely have it downstairs tomorrow. I think that shouldn't be a problem. I will, the one caveat is our website's changing on Wednesday morning. So I'm looking at live just to make sure we get on both.
We can do either.
Both ways.
A hard copy.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your time.
Dave, I want to make a couple other comments. For this past year, we've had our staff and our leaders really look at their budgets. The police department has come under budget. We reduced overtime. During the year, we put in place the scoreboard for capital projects. So there's a number of things that been put in place this year that I think will translate into next year. And so you're concerned about what the expense will look like in the future. There are policies and procedures in place to manage those.
Right. I mean, I agree with that, and hopefully that continues to work. But you still, if you look at 2025 and 2026 together, we're still looking at a deficit of about $1 million, which is still, I mean, if you're down to 2.4 or whatever the number is going to be, a fund balance at 26%, that's hitting very low. So thank you for your time.
Jerry, personnel. Whoops, sorry. Go ahead.
Chris Strayer, Front Street. I apologize. I wasn't at your meeting in November. My wife did not find that as a appropriate way to celebrate her birthday. So I didn't understand
That fruit.
I know. Nonetheless, I thank you guys for your work on the budget. There are some things that I think that could still be considered and potentially modified and changed. So I'll just bring those to your attention. One of the things that's been talked about specifically when we were talking about the Walnut Street property was affordable housing. And the borough really can't change affordable housing. As much as we'd like to think we have some magic wand, the only thing we can do to help with affordable housing is the expenses that you create here through taxes and fees that you give the borough residents. You can't change the market. So that said, one of the things that I think we need to be doing more of is asking not what the departments want, but what the departments need. I think there's a huge difference. I tell my kids, I actually tell our employees the same thing. You can have anything you want, you just can't have everything. And I think for previous years, that may have not have been conveyed. I think it was more of like, hey, what do you want? And we'll get it. And we bought it for them. One of the things that stuck out to me like a sore thumb was the replacement of the bucket truck. To the best of my knowledge, that's a purchase that the Public Works has probably gotten in the last 10 years. But the reality of the Public Works, and no disrespect meant towards them, is they don't do anything in the air with the exception of putting up the stars. So we're not changing light bulbs in the street lights. We're not changing street lights. We're putting up the stars. And so if it's really something that we need once or twice a year to put up the stars and take down the stars, I think maybe more affordable option might be to rent something from a place like Eagle Rental. It's about $250 a day, twice a year, maybe 3 or 4 times a year if we need it. But again, I don't know that we need to buy something that we're using so little and then we maintenance it, we insure it, upkeep. Again, what do we need, not what do we want? I also have a little bit of concern with the $15,000 towards Venture Lititz. To be very, very clear, I'm a big fan of Venture Lititz. I've put a lot of sweat equity. I've put a lot of money and a lot of time into what Venture Lititz does. That said, I do find it problematic that we give Venture Lititz $15,000 and then turn around and charge organizations like the Lions Club, I think it was around $3,500 or $4,000 to shut down the street for the 4th of July parade. And we charge the Rotary Club a ton of money, probably more than that, to shut down the street for the Rotary's craft show. That doesn't seem right. These are events that are bringing people to the downtown, are helping our economics here. You have an organization that's a nonprofit, you give them a free office, you give them $15,000, great. But then you have these other organizations that you just raise their fee for trying to do the event. And then again, you charge them more money on the back end.
Thank you. I'll just share too, on the wants versus needs. I give credit to you guys going through that process. I think that has cleaned up the wants versus the needs quite a bit. There's got to be proof why we're making some purchases. Any other public comments? Okay. Moving on, Jerry. Personnel.
Yes, personnel. I have a couple of items relative to the Planning Commission membership. As you know, the Planning Commission is the organization or the commission that talks about our zoning, subdivision, and development ordinances. So the Planning Commission is a really important part of the borough, and the Planning Commission is staffed really by volunteers, and in addition to Elijah, who is the staff person. So I have a couple things. We learned that Mike Smith has decided not to continue as a Planning Commission member. Mike has been involved in the Planning Commission for numerous years. Before I got elected, I came to a number of the Planning Commission meetings, and during my 2 years as a council member, attended many of those planning commissions and have a lot of respect for what Mike brought to the table. He would wait to think through things and then he would make comments, and those comments were very appropriate. Mike provided a lot of value to the Planning Commission, to our community. So Mike, on behalf of the borough and our community, I want to thank you for your years of service on the Planning Commission. We're sorry to see you leave. Okay, can't get rid of you that way. Okay. So thank you again, Mike, for that. So in light of that, to fill Mike's position on the planning committee, I am recommending the approval of Dan Book. Dan Book has been serving as an alternate to the planning commission for the last year. He's attended the various meetings. He's brought a good perspective. He's a great thinker, former owner of a construction company, and I believe will continue to serve the planning commission very well. So I move to appoint Dan Book to the planning commission for a 4-year term effective January 1st, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Cal Stauffer has its 4-year term on the planning commission expires on December 31, 2025. Cal has agreed to continue his service on the planning commission. And again, he has brought a lot of great perspective, insights, and vision to the planning commission. And I'm glad that he's agreed to continue his role. So I move to reappoint Cal Stauffer to the planning commission for a 4-year term effective January 1st, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. All right, moving on to planning. This was typically Christine's, but Jerry, you are.
Yeah, there's nothing to report tonight.
Okay. Zoning, code enforcement, Mary, you got anything?
No report.
Building and grounds, Ken, looks like you have a
Yeah.
couple pay apps.
I have a couple. So this 2 pay applications for the borough HVAC. So Garden Spot Mechanicals is applying for $147,942 for payment for the materials and work completed for the period ending November 12th, 2025. The work included installation of the HVAC unit on the roof of the Borough Hall. Any questions? Okay, move to approve payment. Application number 1 to Garden Spot Mechanicals in the amount of $147,942 for the work completed through November 12th.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
The second payment application is also related to the Borough Hall, and Garden Spot Mechanicals is applying for $4,545 in payment for materials and work completed for the period ending in November 18th, 2025. The work included ductwork and project management related to the installation of the HVAC unit on the roof of Borough Hall. Any questions? Hearing none, I move to approve payment application number 2 to Garden Spot Mechanicals in the amount of $4,545 for the work completed through November 18th of 2025.
Second.
The motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Steve, that completes the grounds report.
Right, Mary, anything on regional plan?
No report. I'll defer to Elijah if he has anything.
Got nothing. All right. In your packet, you have David Miller's report. Any questions? Scott is here if you have them. No questions. Nothing more to share, Scott, other than. All right, Mayor, do you have anything? Chief. Come on up.
I just wanted to touch on a couple of items. Obviously, you have information packets, but I wanted to highlight a couple of items that I felt were important for council and the community to hear about that occurred over the last month. Continuing with the special events, we've initiated a communication initiative with many of the organizations in town who may not directly be a sponsor of a special event, but who may be impacted in some way. For example, the rec center, the school district, Linden Hall, the downtown merchants, Venture Lititz, et cetera. So essentially what we're going to start doing next year is providing some basic information about approved special events to these groups within town who may be affected either by parking restrictions, road closures, et cetera, to ensure that they have the information that they need for a continuity of operations plan, whatever adjustments they need to make internally if their daily operations are going to be impacted by something connected to the special event. So we had some good conversations with various community groups. It's just simply an attempt to be collaborative and make sure that they get the information they need upstream so that we're not negatively affecting our community groups. The other thing, starting in October, finishing up in November, we gave a tour of the police department for every second grader in this Warwick School District. It was a good opportunity to talk about what policing is, what we do for the community, give the kids an opportunity to meet officers, ask questions, and plant some seeds to start developing relationships at a young age, because they're going to be, most of them, community members for a very long time into adulthood. So it's important that we make those connections young, make sure they understand what the police department does, and that they develop a comfort in speaking with officers should they have a bad day and need it. Also following up.
Did you show them the cell in the basement?
That's always their favorite part. Yes. Yeah, they care less about some of the other stuff they see upstairs, but they really get excited about going down to the cell in the basement. Following up on some of the parking meter conversations from previous discussions with council and with merchants, et cetera. One of the things I explored was if there was an app-based component or feature that we could add to the parking meters. So for anybody's recollection, currently you can either pay with coins or you can swipe or insert, I should say, a credit card. There is a QR code feature that we could enable at no cost. What that is, it's a dynamic QR code that would be displayed on the LCD screen of the meter. It can change daily as a security feature, as opposed to a sticker in which somebody could come through in the middle of the night, take off and put their own QR code on and divert payment to wherever. So that is a feature we could enable. From what they're telling me, it would be a 45-cent transaction fee. You scan the QR code, you enter your car information, you pay the meter, and it applies time to the meter. So there would be a 45-cent transaction fee for the QR scan payment option, but the 45-cent transaction fee would not be applicable to paying with coins or if you swiped your credit card at the meter. So there would be no cost to implement that QR code payment option. However, the current way the meters are set up is payment information just goes one direction. It goes from the meter to Civic Smart in the back end. So in order for the meter enforcement to be able to detect if somebody paid via the app, because currently there's no way to display on the meter head that meter is paid if it's paid through the app. So there's two options. The first option is when the person enforcing the meters looks at the meter head and sees that there's no time on it, they would have to log on to the website of the Civic Smart, enter the license plate number of the car, and then they could search to see if that license plate number has paid or not. That would be a bit more labor intensive. It would be more time and effort at the meter to make that determination. The other option is they could install 4 or 5 receiver boxes around the downtown footprint where the meters are that would pull the payment data from their servers and push it out to the meters so that there would be an indication on the meter head that somebody paid via the app. So for the 4 or 5 receiver boxes, they're estimating that would cost a one-time cost to install the equipment of about $2,000. So not asking for any decisions tonight. I'm just putting that out in the domain that the QR code payment is a feature we could enable at no cost. The decision point after that would be, how do you manage getting that data back to the meter or the person checking to see if they paid? So I just wanted to put that out there as a follow-up that we've had that conversation, and that is another option that could exist for the meters.
Question, the 45 cents. So if you go on the QR code, will it tell that individual on their phone that there's a 45-cent charge to use that?
I don't know. I can get that answer.
Okay,
I didn't
I was just
specifically ask
curious.
that question. I mean, obviously, I think there should be some communication piece if that is
Right.
the path forward, that if you're going to pay via the QR code and that method would incur an additional 45-cent
Right.
charge, there should be some communication, whether it's either on the platform or some indication somewhere on the meter. I think there's different ways you could give that notification.
That's an option then for the people like me that can't get this stupid thing to work right. So
Right. Yeah, it would essentially
Well, at
it
least
would
there's
provide
another
a
option.
third option for payment that
right.
does not currently exist but could in the future if that decision is made.
So 3 options to pay.
Correct.
I would sooner us take a little broader look at this issue rather than add another option and think about a more simpler customer service way for people to park downtown. And I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's kiosk kind of arrangement. We're trying to repair something and we're adding more options that might make it more difficult for people. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty much at capacity with the current infrastructure that's in town, other than adding the payment option. Obviously, if at some point in the future council wants to entertain a kiosk system, I would imagine it would mean ripping out the current infrastructure and then putting something else into place. And I think maybe a couple more years. I think within 5. So just food for thought. It was a follow-up item that I wanted to redress with council and some people that have expressed that question.
I know in Lancaster, so they ripped out all the meters, but they put on the same poles, they just put a little box that has the QR code. So you don't have to go to a kiosk and put all your information in. You just download the code cell.
Yeah, a lot of.
Right, versus that kiosk box.
But I think they start at that.
But then you're getting rid of, can't even use coin at all. And we have a decent amount of.
Currently, it's about 60% of the revenue is coins.
Right.
Compared to 40%.
I would hate to get rid of that and people, that option.
So 2 other quick personnel items that I wanted to share because I felt like they were significant. That's why I asked Officer Weinelt to just come up here because I'm going to talk about him for a second. But Detective Sergeant Detz and Officer Weinelt both this month achieved a significant professional milestone that I felt was worth sharing. So I'll start with Detective Sergeant Detz. He couldn't be here tonight, but he was appointed to the county's crisis negotiation team, probably more commonly known as like a hostage negotiator. That's what most people would familiarize themselves with that. So that is a specialized skill set that can be used for various highly, violent or dangerous situations. It really focuses on the concepts of de-escalation and negotiation to safely resolve situations. So most commonly a hostage situation, somebody who is barricaded with a weapon that's threatening themselves or others. So this is a year-long process to get here. So this is an invaluable resource internally that we can use when that bad day would happen here in town. So again, every officer in the department is currently crisis intervention team trained to de-escalate crisis negotiations. This is a specialized step above that. So we currently have 2 crisis negotiators that are credentialed, him and then Detective Savage, who's a team leader for the county. So we have 2 very valuable resources in town to help manage those types of very serious situations. So with the addition of Detective Sergeant Detz to that role, I felt it was important the community know that we've added this extra resource to de-escalate and to safely resolve those critical incidents. The reason why I asked Officer Weinholt here is he is what's considered a drug recognition expert, or a DRE. So what that is a especially highly trained officer who has been credentialed by the International Association of Chiefs of Police to do an evaluation on people who are suspected drivers who are suspected of being under the influence of drugs other than or in addition to alcohol. If you look at the last 10 years or so of DUIs trending within the county, we're seeing a lot more drug impaired drivers than we've ever seen. So DREs perform a drug influence evaluation. It's a very in-depth analysis to determine if somebody is having either a medical issue or if it is a drug issue, and then they can be qualified as an expert witness in court to provide expert testimony related to that evaluation. So 2 weeks ago, Officer Weinholt was recognized statewide for his exceptional performance as a DRE. It was a recognition of his outstanding contributions. And again, it's an invaluable skill that we can offer to the residents of the borough or anybody coming into town who unfortunately would have cause to come into contact with a drug impaired driver. There was only 16 DREs in the entire world in 2024 that performed more than 50 drug influence evaluations. And Officer Weinholt was one of them. So he received not only statewide recognition, but the International Association of Chiefs of Police in their annual report, which goes out to every law enforcement leader in the entire country. specifically called out Officer Weinhold and recognized his contributions to safe roadways. So I wanted to not only recognize Officer Weinhold, but Detective Sergeant Detz, because they put a lot of time and effort into mastering their skill that they're in turn providing to the residents of the borough. So with all that said, I guess I felt it was important to hear that, because there's about 40,000 police officers in the Commonwealth and only 260 DREs. And there's only 5 in Lancaster County.
Great job. Thank you.
Want to share some of your experiences?
A lot of wild ones, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you see some, unfortunately, you see some very interesting things, often tragic, but it makes it all that more important to have that expertise, because DUIs are the most technical arrest or investigation that a police officer will ever make. And it gets compounded when you add the drug element in, because a lot of medical conditions can mimic drug impairment. So you want to make sure that you're making the correct arrest decision, that you're not arresting people that shouldn't be arrested, but also that you're identifying if it is a medical issue, so that you're not delaying care. So Officer Weinhold and Detective Sergeant Detz do a lot of good work, and it's just important to me that we recognize their contributions to the borough.
Want to get a picture?
You guys mind posing for a picture?
Yeah.
Sure.
While they're doing that, just to make a comment, the professionalism of the department is under the leadership of Chief Hahn. So thank you, Chief, for your ongoing work to continue to professionalize the department and raise the bar. This is a special police force, and I appreciate that.
Sure. Well, thank you. That was all I had. I said brief, so sorry it was kind of brief, but
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, the final items here, reports from the managing directors. We'll start with Rob. Do you have anything more to share other than what's in your report?
Yeah, I do have a couple things. I mentioned earlier the website goes live on December 3rd. Please note it'll be a work in progress. It won't be the final version of it. It's just the date that actually goes live. So a lot of work to do behind the scenes yet. Public Works has used the leaf vac machine this fall season, and it's had a lot of good reviews. The guys like it. It's worked out well so far. So wanted to share that with you guys. And lastly, with our HVAC, unfortunately, the unit that was installed was a 480 volt. We ordered and spec'd out a 208 volt unit, so that needs to be replaced. The new unit was shipped from Texas last week, so it should be installed before the end of December, but just another delay, headache in the process. The last thing I'll add is the pay app you approved did not have that unit in that. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Questions for Rob? Move on to Elijah.
For me, it's the monthly runabout line update. So we signed the contract last month. I haven't heard anything back from Norfolk Southern. That hasn't really stopped us. Land swap will be at Planning Commission in December, so hopefully you'll be approving that at the December council meeting. Looking forward, I'm actually communicating with NS to try to queue up the discussion for acquiring the right-of-way and what they'll need for that, specifically because DCNR has right-of-way funding that could be used for right-of-way acquisition, and they need an appraisal to go with that application. That opens up at the beginning of January, so I'm hopeful to apply for that. Even if that doesn't quite work out, we have a positive development as of this afternoon. The county's Transportation Advisory Committee recommended the construction of the rail trail for $900,000 of construction funding. So if we can get the right of way in 2029 and 2030, they'll have $450,000 to put towards it. That's assuming that both Federal Highways and PennDOT consent with this, and then the county's MPO in June approves it. But as of right now, it is a restricted type of funding used exclusively for trails and pedestrian projects, and we were really the only candidate at this point in time. So definitely trying to get the right of way moving forward. Any questions?
That's exciting.
Yeah. Let's keep knocking on wood.
All right, if no questions for Elijah, Final, any other public comments, questions on anything that was not covered tonight? Yep.
Not that tall, sorry. Jason Burkholder, 37 East Lincoln Avenue, also business here on Broad Street. Following up to Chief Hahn's comments on the meters. I do understand a third option might be challenging for people, but in all reality, the borough's not ditching these meters anytime in the next 2 or 3 years. With all due respect, you all don't work that fast. You're not going to ditch them and go to a paper kiosk system. The credit cards are a wonderful option, but there's a lot of friction. Took me 5 tries the other day to do it. I think the public would greatly appreciate the QR code option, as well as the downtown businesses who spend an inordinate amount of time teaching people how to use the meters. So please don't dismiss that option that can easily be implemented for significantly less cost than a pedestal.
Thank you, Jason.
One other thing I wanted to comment too, I wanted to, the same question, Mr. Strayer, when you talked about the bucket truck. So as we were going through this whole thing, it was convenient that I could go home and ask my husband, why do you need a bucket truck? So it, again, to me, it was like, sure, we just need to put the stars up. But what I was going through in my head, I wrote some of the things down that he said. It's also not just stars. So there's flags. There's they trim all the trees in the borough. This, if I recall, and I got Andy here so he can back me up on this. There's a lot of storage that's in that bucket truck that goes to all the water and sewer issues. So anytime there's a water sewer issue, that bucket truck goes with you. They also put a light at the top, and that brightens up any hole that they're ever digging. So they need that something to be higher that they're able to get that. And also, you did buy the bucket truck, but it was used, correct? And is it over at least 10 years old? 2002. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. So, I just wanted to clarify that I know it's used for a lot more than just, what else am I missing? Are there other things I'm sure you
Yeah, I don't think
use?
you need to go through justifying each. I think it really the general.
I guess I was just, those are the things I was
Yeah, to the
looking
public
through.
is more, I think the process that you implemented, you can't just say, hey, I want a new bucket truck
Right.
now without giving justification.
Right. Those are the things that we went through. So, okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
All right. Any other public comments on anything not discussed? Agenda. All right. One final. That would be the final.
For adjournment.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.